Hello. So today I'm going to talk about electrolytes. I keep getting asked about electrolytes and I'm a big fan. And all electrolytes are minerals, but not all minerals are electrolytes. Now, minerals can provide structure for us. They enable processes in the body and we can store them so that we can get them out when they're needed. Whereas electrolytes are ignited, if you want, when they are dissolved in water or blood plasma, and they carry a charge. So they initiate things like nerve impulses, muscle contraction. They help us balance the fluids of the body. So they have an activating capacity. And our kidneys regulate the electrolytes. So recently I did a talk on bladder health, which I will repeat actually. I did it for the Faculty of Homeopaths and I'll repeat that again. But what I discovered recently is that quite a lot of the electrolytes on the market, like this one from Viridian, are really just salt dissolved in water. Now this happens to be salt from the Great Lakes, which is probably quite a good profile when it comes to minerals, but it really just is salt dissolved in water. So you might as well get yourself a bag of Himalayan salt. Try and get Himalayan salt that's hand mined, or sea salt that is purified. You know, it's gone through a good process. It's not been chemically treated, basically, is what we're saying. So a lot of Himalayan salt is blast mined. I would rather go for something that's been hand mined than blasted out of the rock, personally. It's nutrient dense when it comes to minerals, and some of those minerals, when they're dissolved in water, will become electrolytes. So why not dissolve a 5-pound bag or bottle of Himalayan crystal salt in water, and we make what's called a Sol solution. So we allow the water to take up as much salt as it possibly can, and then you can strain off any remaining salt. Usually leave it for 24 hours to do that. Strain off any remaining salt, keep it in a bottle in the fridge, and have half a teaspoon a day in a glass of water. And because you're putting it into the water, that will be creating electrolytes from the minerals that have that capacity. There'll be other minerals in there which are going to be good for you, which don't have that capacity to be electrolytes, and that's fine. They've got other jobs to do. So rather than spend a lot of money on a dropper bottle which has really only got salty water in, whether it comes from the sea or the Great Lakes, and I've done quite a lot of research on this, if you are going to spend your money, look for something that has got humic and fulvic acid in it. Now these are very potent. So humic acid has come from decomposed vegetation matter, which has been squashed down over millennia and become something like peat or shilajit. And I'm going to show you shilajit in a minute. So that's your humic acid come from a biological plant source. And then you've got fulvic acid, which will have come from clays. And again, these are very mineral dense clays. So humic acid, fulvic acid, this particular product is called Ionic Elements, and it comes from a company called Platinum in Europe, or Purium in the States. I've used for years, and I find this is great for people who are genuinely tired. They might have a thyroid issue, might be going through menopause and be needing to kind of really gather up their minerals to nourish organs which have been depleted over time. Things like ovaries, adrenals, kidneys that have been doing a lot of work for many years trying to make us fertile. So those organs often need a bit of a boost when it comes to menopause, and something like ionic minerals, and these are called ionic elements, would be a good choice. And I prefer these to nano. A lot of nano minerals on the market don't come from natural sources like the humic and the fulvic acid. They're a byproduct of other chemical processes. So go for something where you understand the source. So humic and fulvic acid. Now, my problem with this when it comes to my UK customers is this comes from a company in Europe. And we've got this whole post-Brexit problem of receiving products from Europe and getting charged a lot by the customs. So I've been looking for a company in the UK that has a humic and fulvic acid, and I found one. I'll come to that in a minute. We can get electrolyte rich things from other sources. So coconut water is electrolyte rich. I've only got coconut milk here from a company called Clear Spring. Now, this isn't, what I happen to have in my house today. Clear Spring, fantastic company for really good quality products, mainly from Japanese heritage and a Scottish heritage, because that is the heritage of their founders. My tip is to sign up to their newsletters and wait for their 20% off sales and get it all delivered to your house. They do a far wider range than you'll find in the health store. Absolutely fantastic products, totally trust them. So humic and fulvic acid, the company that I found, and this is a much bigger bottle, that surprised me when it arrived, is a company called Navi. Again, I'll put the links down below. And they also are based in Scotland and have very good quality products from a number of superfood sources. And they provide these Vital Earth mineral blend of fulvic and humic acid. So this is what I'm recommending my UK clients to go for these days. And I do have a link that should get you a bit off your first order. When I saw it was this big a bottle and that I was going to have to take a capful every day to get my nutrients, my electrolytes and my minerals, I was like, oh, I hope it doesn't taste horrible. There it is. It looks like a glass of Guinness without the head on. But of course, you could drink something like Guinness or that kind of stout, because it is actually quite minerally rich. But let's just read the label for the processing of Guinness. But traditionally, a bottle of stout, you might know this, is going to help enhance your milk if you're feeding your baby. So, women were told to drink a bottle of stout. Anyway, this actually doesn't taste too bad. I just looked at it and thought, ooh, okay. It tastes fine. It doesn't really have much of a taste. But that is my humic and fulvic acid that I really like as a source for minerals. You could also try Shilajit. This is a company called Hybrid Herbs, and I've just bought this really for today to do this talk on electrolytes. But again, this is mined. This is from big seams of compressed, decomposed vegetation and mineral matter, and it tastes like tar, which is a bit disgusting, but I dissolve a little bit in warm water and take it. It's very good. So again, mineral dense. Some of those minerals will become electrolytes that will look after your nervous system, your musculoskeletal system doing its work, and help balance the fluids of the body. That's what we want from our electrolytes. Another little tip, which is homeopathic, as you know, I'm a homeopath, is to use the 12 tissue salts in potency. So you'll often hear me talk about tissue salts because they're still very readily available over the counter in your health store. Companies like Schussler and New Era stock them. There are other companies, Boiron, I think, in the States. Possibly Highlands in the States has a really lovely little product called Bioplasma. I think that's 3x. So we're talking low potency homeopathic remedies that are not mineral in themselves, but will encourage good mineral take-up from the foods that you're eating. So I am a big fan of the tissue salts, and you'll hear me talk about them in lots of capacities. And we could go for individual tissue salts for specific things. So I picked this one out because I've been talking about it a lot in my pregnancy workshops recently. Calc Floor. This looks after the elasticity of tissue in the body. So of course I get asked a lot about collagen because I work a lot with menopause. And so this actually might be a good tissue salt to look after the elastic quality of your skin, in your connective tissue in the body. It's also a great little remedy for dealing with scars, if we've got scar tissue internally or externally, for instance. So those are our homeopathic tissue salts that we could use alongside whatever foods it is we're eating to draw up the nutrients more efficiently. Sometimes we need to put in the nutrients, so look for quality when it comes to humic and fulvic acid. This one, by the way, you just need a couple of pipettes of a day. And again, doesn't taste bad, not a problem with that. Shilajit, I love, tastes like tar. Tastes like an artist's studio, basically. And one last thing is that sometimes we are looking to shift heavy metals in the body. And I believe that heavy metals disrupt our capacity to store minerals in the body, because we often see a deficiency in certain minerals when we do what we call a hair mineral analysis test, and we find out that someone is heavy metal toxic and they're also deficient in specific minerals. And we had a question on my homeopathic Facebook group about that I'm a member of. It's not my group, but it's a homeopathic group that I'm a member of. And we had a question about a man who was suffering from baldness and early baldness. And I suggested that he needed the mineral selenium, but that things like heavy metals might be disrupting his capacity to take that in, to store it in the body, and to utilize it where needed. So we tend to see if there's what we call male pattern balding, hair loss, particularly in the temples, we might be looking at a deficiency of selenium. But behind that, the reason why we're deficient could well be something like heavy metals in the system holding on. So I'll often be using these minerals and electrolytes and recommending them for people who are heavy metal toxic, and we're doing a whole detox when it comes to heavy metals. So we can drill down and use something like zeolite. Now, this company that I've mentioned, Navi, also has this product, Masterpiece, and that is natural zeolite and marine plasma. So this is something which specifically helps to shift heavy metals from the system. I personally would also be using the blue-green algae, as you know, I really love that, or crack cell chlorella, because these are natural chelators from the plant kingdom. Zeolite is a natural chelator more from the mineral kingdom. So I hope that's explained a bit about electrolytes. All electrolytes are minerals. Not all minerals are electrolytes. Minerals provide the structure in the body, they enable processes, and we can store them. So if you are having that collagen conversation, you do need to check your mineral levels, because minerals are part of what provides structure when it comes to the proteins that we're made out of. And those electrolytes carry the electric charge when dissolved in the water or plasma, and that stimulates muscles, stimulates the nervous system. So if you're in menopause and you've got electric shock sensation, we need to look at electrolytes. If you're in menopause and you've got you're leaking a bit, bladder leak, might be need to look at our mineral wealth, because the kidneys regulate the electrolytes. So, bigger picture stuff could be going on, but these are a fantastic background in a world where I see many people who are very untethered. They're very in their heads. They're not connected with the earth. Minerals connect us to the earth. We're drawing up minerals efficiently. So walking barefoot on grass is a way to stimulate your body to come into balance when it comes to electrolytes as well. So we're just getting into spring here in the UK, and maybe walking barefoot on grass is a bit more appealing.